Hi there! Welcome to the Introduction to the Human Brain. I am Natasha, your instructor for today. Alright, so in this recorded lecture, we will cover two subtopics. And the first one is the brain structures and function, and the second one is the brain mapping techniques. So by the end of this topic, learners should be able to demonstrate an understanding of the structures and function of the human brain anatomy and describe the key concepts of the brain mapping techniques by distinguishing between the structural and functional approaches. However, in this first part of pre-recorded lecture video, we will cover the first subtopic first, which is the brain structures and function. And later, you will also watch the second part of the topic, which is the brain mapping techniques. Okay, so let's move on to the first subtopic, which is the brain structures and functions. So the human brain is the most complex organ of the body, with approximate length of 15 centimeter and approximate weight of 1,400 gram or 1.4 kilogram. And it consists of approximately 10 billion nerve cells or neurons and billions of interconnecting fibers. Whereas you can see from the picture in the slides, the brain can be divided into two symmetrical hemispheres, right and left. Okay, now moving on to the three major parts of the brain. Okay, so the brain can be divided into three major parts, which are brain stem, or so-called medulla, and cerebellum and cerebrum. So we will go from bottom to top, and as you can see down there, the cerebrum cortex are the wrinkled surfaces, as you can see from the picture in the right part of the slides. Okay, let's cover the brainstem first, or medulla. The brainstem, as highlighted in purple, control basic survival processes such as heart rate, breathing, digestion, and sleep. And the main route of communication between the rest of the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves that run throughout the body. This brainstem has its own set of nerves that send and receive signal to the face, mouth, tongue, eye muscles, ears, and a balanced sensing vestibular organs. So this brainstem actually controls something that you don't have to think to do. For example, the heart rate, you don't have to think that you need to breathe. You just normally and you just naturally do it, right? So it is to control basic survival processes. And then for cerebellum is the one highlighted in blue. Okay, it is located at the back of your head. Is the second largest part of the brain. It controls balance and coordination. So this is the keyword. Cerebellum controls balance and coordination. It coordinates movement and involved in motor learning. This cerebellum is also called as little brain. Why? Because it is the second largest part of the brain. So the cerebellum is primarily involved in coordinating voluntary muscle movement, where it maintains balance, it controls posture, and it involved in the motor learning. Alright? So moving on to the third major part, which is the cerebrum. So cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, as you can see right here. It controls all conscious thoughts, experiences, and actions, where it can be divided into two hemispheres, right and left, joined by the corpus callosum. We will cover the corpus callosum later on, but now, for now, we will see the outer folded layer first, which is the brain matter. So as you can see from the picture below, the brain is cut. Okay, the brain is sliced through, and when the brain is sliced, you can see the gray matter and the white matter part of the brain. So the gray matter one is the surface of cerebrum, which we call cerebral cortex. This cerebral cortex we will cover more later. Alright? So cerebral cortex here is a 3 mm thick, a very thin layer. And these areas convoluted pattern packed into a small space to fit inside the skull. And cerebral cortex, which is the outer gray matter layer, that we saw just now consists of 4 major areas, which are frontal lobe, the front one, parietal lobe, the middle one, occipital lobe, the back one, the temporal lobe, the sides one. So these are some ideas on how you can remember these 4 major areas. So we have the mnemonic here. Fancy penguin occasionally twerk. I provided you with the picture as well for you to imagine. The fancy penguin occasionally twerk, which stands for frontal, parietal, occipital, and temporal. Okay? So first we cover the frontal lobe first. So frontal lobe involved in motor function. Okay? It involved in problem solving, spontaneity, memory, language, initiation, judgment, impulse control, emotion, and personality, decision making, all the higher order thinking skills. And these parts of the brain are extremely vulnerable to injury due to their location at the front of cranium. Cranium is your skull, right? So these frontal lobe are in control of our high order thinking skills, where all the problem solving, the decision making, the memory, the language, the learning took place. Okay? Next is the parietal lobe. So the parietal lobe is located in the middle part, okay, of the brain, and this parietal lobe receive info from the senses, okay, about pressure, pain, texture, temperature. So as you can see from the picture down below, this is how you can remember the parietal lobe parts. So as you can see, this is the parietal lobe parts of the cerebral cortex, and all of these are the senses. Okay, so parietal lobe are in control of our senses. And then next, the occipital lobe. I bet this one is the easiest one. It is for visual processing. Okay, as you can see, this is how our eyeballs attach or connected to the occipital lobe at the visual cortex, right? That is the primary function of occipital lobe. And then we also have the temporal lobe. So temporal lobe, as it is located near our ear, then the primary function is hearing or auditory processing. When we hear something, we are prone to, we may hear sounds, voices, noises, and mostly when we hear voices, it will involve language. So when there is a language comprehension, there is learning. Therefore, this temporal lobe also covers hearing, language comprehension, as well as learning and memory. Alright? So remember that when you hear something, when you hear something, and something is a language that you can comprehend and can be a learning for you, then that is the function of the temporal lobe. Right? You hear, you comprehend the language, and you understand or you learn from the language. Okay, so now moving back to the cerebral hemispheres. Just now we discussed that the brain can be divided into 2 hemispheres, 2 symmetrical hemispheres, right and left, and it is joined by the corpus callosum. Okay, corpus callosum. So the corpus callosum is the bridge between the 2 hemispheres, and the one that helps the 2 hemispheres to communicate with each other. Okay, and this also give you the contralateral brain function. What is contralateral brain function? Where the left hemisphere part of your brain controls the right side, and the right hemisphere controls the left side of your body, just like the picture. Alright, the picture have shown you that the left hemisphere part of the brain controls the right side of the eyeball, while the right side of the hemisphere control the left side of the eyeball, and they saw things differently, right? And then let's get to the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is a large band of fibers that connects the left and right hemispheres of the cerebral cortex. So this is the picture of corpus callosum. It's very how do I say? It is just a large band of fibers. Okay, it's not very huge, but the role is very important in your brain. Okay, this is when it is sliced through, and this is how it looks. Okay, And then for nervous system, okay, invertebrate, humans, frogs, rats, and cats, and other vertebrata, the nervous system comprises of two parts. Okay, peripheral nervous system and central nervous system. So the PNS and the CNS. What is PNS? What is CNS? So as you can see from the picture here, the hot pink part, okay, is the central nervous system. Okay, the brain and the spinal cord are parts of the central nervous system. Okay, this is as well the picture that you can see. While the blue parts are the nerves. Okay, all the nerves throughout your body, we call it as peripheral nervous system. So what you need to remember is for central nervous system, there are only brain and also spinal cord that goes all the way back to your spine. While for peripheral nervous system, you only need to remember the nerves throughout your body, and the nerve can be divided into two, which is afferent and efferent. So what is afferent? Afferent is when the signals are sent from senses to the brain, from our body, for example, from our fingertips, or from our tongue, from our ear to the brain. While for efferent, it carries signals from the brain to the senses, meaning that efferent give you the action or behavior after you receive the senses or the stimuli. Alright, so afferent, you receive the stimuli, sent to the brain. Efferent, you send the information or the responses from the brain to the stimuli, to the senses back. Alright, so this is what you need to remember for the nervous system. And in the nervous system, we have the nerve system, the neurons. So what are neurons? Neurons are the nerve cells. Okay, just now we see the peripheral nervous system. There are a lot of nerves, and these nerve cells are called neurons, specialized to receive and transmit information in the nervous system. And it communicates through stimulation of electric impulses or signals called the action potential. Okay, this is the major parts of neurons. Okay, we have the soma. Soma is this, the purple one, is the cell body. It contains genetic material. It contains the information, the DNA, the detail. Okay, that is very, very important. And then we have dendrite. Okay, let's start with dendrite first. Okay, dendrite receive messages. Okay, and it brings information to the cell body. Okay, and the cell body we call soma just now contains the genetic material, and this information or messages sent to the soma will then be sent again out through axon. Okay, as you can see here, sends message and takes information away from cell body, meaning the information goes from the messages will be received by dendrite, sent to the soma that contains genetic material, and again sent out by the axon to the axon terminal. So what happened at the axon terminal? This is the end of the axon, and this is another dendrite's neurons. Okay, another neurons dendrite. Okay, there will be a space between the axon and the dendrites, and this space are called the synapse. It is a small gap separating two neurons, a link from one neuron to another. Okay, so this is axon that send messages away, and this is a dendrite of another neuron that will receive the messages. Alright, so again, how neurons communicate? Neurons communicate through releasing neurotransmitters at the synapse. What is neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are chemical signals that are released across the synapse so that neurons can communicate with each other, and this makes our brain work. So as you can see from here, the messages from the one that we receive from the dendrite sent to the soma, sent back to the axon. The messages are what we call the neurotransmitter here. The neurotransmitter. It will be released through the synapse to the dendrites of another neuron. And these are what and how neurons communicate with one another. Right? So this is the first part of the pre-recorded video. We'll see you again at the second part. Thank you.